It's Johnny I Spy, guys. It's Johnny I Spy, guys. What will that look like on the premiere? Yes, folks, it's Johnny I Spy, your friendly neighborhood astrologer on the internet and YouTube. Look, there's been a lot of talk about what we're going through, and what mainly we're going through right now is this whole entire square time, right? And as you already know, squares belong to who? They belong to Mars. I've set this whole entire podcast up tonight, and you know what? The Astro Gold program on my phone is having a buggy time, and they've set all the times, even though I put Banff, Canada, there for some reason the chart casting program is erecting the charts with Atlantic time. So, with this being said, I just want you to scrap the horizon, okay? Let's forget about the ascendant tonight. And all these charts, let's forget about the ascendant. And let's just think about the aspects, okay? And the time periods. And most importantly today. Because, as you know, things can happen within 6 to 10 degrees of a major conjunction, okay? Or a major opposition or what have you. And in this case, we're talking about squares and Mars. The whole entire autumn, winter, and spring to come, 2024 and 2025, this entire time is all about a square and then a whole bunch of retrogrades, but mainly one trigger planet of the events. And we're doing a complete flip-flop, folks. This is how it works. Right now, when I come to you, I don't have the chart for today on this podcast. Please excuse me. Yes, I'm having a little bit of a drink. It's just a little Kahlua and milk and some protein shake. With a touch of vodka and... But look, guys, I'm not going to be serious here, okay? I'm trying to relax a little bit. And I have a collection of charts here, and I want to make this really fast here. Because this is all about the retrograde season that we have, but it's all about a very intense transit between two planets that are supposed to be friends, but when they are opposing each other, they do like to tangle, okay? And I want you to think about the times. I want you to look at the charts. I want you to get your screen capture fingers ready to do the screenshots so you could place the aspect and the degree of the planets I'm going to present. Forget the horizon, okay? When you do your personal chart, you're going to look at your location. You're going to look at the transit. You're going to pull that chart up. You're going to erect that chart for the location where you are, and then you're going to cast that chart, and then do a synergy comparison with the two charts, okay? And the two charts is your chart, the location of where you live, and let's add a third chart, which is the actual transits as well, right? So, as I said, all of these charts are wrong, right? But we want to look at the time, at the day, and we want to look at what's absolutely happening in the sky for that day. So today that we're looking at, today is August 17th, so we're only 13 days away, guys, something like 13, 14 days away from September 1st, when Uranus, not Jupiter, but when Uranus goes retrograde. This is the exact moment he goes retrograde. He'll be opposed Pallas Athena. Uranus is going to go retrograde at 27 degrees Taurus. If you're following that Placidus house system, maybe I will start doing a sidereal and Placidus house chart comparison for everything that we look at for when we're just studying the aspects, right? We want to know these aspects. We want to know our trines. We want to know our squares. We want to know our oppositions and our conjunctions. We want to know them all, right? Forget the rest of the house because this is a soup, right? You got to think of the solar system as this stock, that you're got on the stove, and the spoon is the sun, right? The spoon gets everything whipped around, okay? Everything is just swirling around the sun, okay? That's our solar system. That's our zodiac. The zodiac is just a map of this swirling thing that the solar system does, right? And how that influences us. We're in the middle of the soup, right? We're right in the middle of the soup. So you can call this like Astro Soup for the soul. Yeah, I got some Astro Soup for the soul for you tonight. Okay, so here we go. Let's think about this, okay? Because these are the exact times, and I want you to get your charts together and put this down in comparison, because we have a Uranus retrograde, which will absolutely thicken the retrograde season, because before Uranus goes retrograde, we have from Pluto, Saturn, and Neptune. Now, what I want you to look at here, because if you look around on YouTube, and if you look at the long term, if you look at your farmer's almanac, and as I said before, if you look around on YouTube for these independent weather forecasters, and then if you just look at your regular forecasters, they are saying that we're going to see below average cold time during late summer, and into the winter, right? It's going to be much colder than average. And I want you to think about this, because the planets are like the stock in the stew, right? And they're swirling around, but they're more animated, and then they're like more in suspended animation. That's what they're like in this stew, right? But they're moving, right? They're traveling, right? But it's a big solar system. We can't fit it all on this little circle thing, right? And this is this chart system is very misleading in the representation of what the solar system actually looks like in real life, okay? So let's think about this, okay? Let's think about this. What are we thinking about? We're thinking about this is the day that Uranus goes retrograde. Now I'll go back up again here. Uranus goes retrograde on September 1st. That thickens the retrograde season up. Now we have, and I'm pretty sure Uranus is going retrograde a day or 2 days after Mercury comes out of his retrograde season, okay? It's something like this. I'll have to double check on that, but let's just focus on this, okay? Now look where Jupiter is for this retrograde season. Jupiter is still within a 3-degree orb of Saturn. Jupiter still, and Mars is now he's the one out in front, and Jupiter's out in front, and these two are not retrograde. And then we have all these over here, but the thing is we want to look at the sky as Aries and Libra, okay? We want to flip the sky over, and we want to think about where all these planets are. Because when you look over here like Libra, and then you look over here in Scorpio and Sagittarius, there's very much going on through there, and the sun and the moon are very fleeting through this area of Leo, right? But we're saying it's going to be colder. So let's look at what these autumn and winter planets are doing, right? Okay, autumn and winter planets. Let's think about autumn and winter planets. Mars is a spring planet, but it's also an autumn planet, and his friend is Pluto, which is autumn planet. So, but we have an autumn planet moving into the heart of winter, and then we have Saturn moving through the last sign of winter, along with Neptune, who's on the cusp of spring. But these are winter planets, right? And when they move into these spring signs, when they got these winter planets, let me go back up again. Sorry, I'm sorry about doing that. But when we think about Jupiter and we think about Mars on this day, but we look at Jupiter and we look at Uranus. Uranus is a very winter planet, right? He's a very cold place, and he's supposedly in a sign of Venus, which is a spring, right? And then Venus is also fall, right? And sometimes we get that Indian summer, right? But think about these. Think about this, like these colder planets, because Jupiter is an autumn planet, but Jupiter Jupiter gets really close to winter, right? Because that's Sagittarius. Sagittarius is the last. Sagittarius is the last sign of autumn, right? It's the coldest sign of autumn. And then we have Saturn. Saturn is the second sign of winter. And here he is. He's in the third. So you got to look at this. And then we have Uranus sitting in the house of Taurus, But you think about all these planets right here. And look where Pluto is. He's right there on the cusp of the coldest month of the year, right? So here we are. And we have to think about this. Because they say that it might be a colder year this year. And these planets are sitting, in an area that's normally, ruled by warmer planets. Like you got Mars, it's a fire planet, and then Jupiter, it's a fire planet as well. But he's in Gemini. But as I said before, there's that cold side of Jupiter, right? And Uranus is completely cold, right? Okay, so let's think about that. Let's think about how things are sitting that way, and let's think about how the weight of the solar system is, because it's not very much over here in these summer signs, right? You got Cancer, Leo, and Virgo being the summer house, and then Libra is being, so you have nothing over here. So we have to wonder why, it's, you have to think of metaphysically the truth of this, okay? So we're moving here. This is the retrograde, folks. Jupiter and Saturn are still in the square, okay? Now we're into the now I have here is the Jupiter retrograde. Sorry for the quick move on that one. Here's the Jupiter retrograde, which is about 39 days later after Uranus goes retrograde, because he's moving. Jupiter is absolutely moving, and look where he is. Jupiter is out of the square, right? The square, and remember, the reason why we're talking about this podcast is all squares belong to Mars, right? So here we start the thickening of the retrograde season up. We're thickening the retrograde season up with this Jupiter, this light. I don't know why it's doing that. It's being funny. Okay, so here we are. Jupiter is in a light square, okay? It's at 3 degrees. There's a 3-degree orb. It's still pretty tight, right? And that's what this is the next step of the thickening of the winter retrograde season, right? The atmosphere. And how the atmosphere is getting heavier with this square. Now look at this. Now here we are. This is the day, October 9th. And you got to think about these dates, right? Because things will be happening. I mean, look at actually what happens here when Jupiter goes retrograde. Oh, why are you doing that? That drives me crazy. I don't know why it keeps on flooding over like that. I'm sorry about this. Jupiter is sitting in a waxing opposition to the moon, okay? That's what's happening right here, like so. And this is on, the moon is past the opposition. It just wants to do this, right? It drives me up the wall. So here we go. This is how this works right here. Jupiter, the moon has just passed Jupiter on this date of the retrograde. And at 21 degrees, you got to look at this, guys. This is where he's at 21 degrees. And look at little Juno. See Juno? Jupiter is trine Juno at 21 degrees. And here's Mercury too. And remember, Juno is the wife of Jupiter. October 9th, okay? Mercury is the messenger of Jupiter at 22 degrees. And it's just a little bit over a degree out, guys. On this day, it goes retrograde. Okay? Think about this day. Look at these charts. Now, the third chart. This is the intensity mode. The energy is building, okay? Look at this. Now, this selection of charts and all of our notes should validate or destroy the Placidic house system, the tropical zodiac system, right? Is it sidereal tropical? What do we should watch? What should we study the most? Because what goes down these days will be pinned to these charts, or it won't be pinned. So let's look at this. November 3rd. Look how close these dates are to each other. The first chart I showed you was on September 1st. The second chart I showed you was October 9th. And it's almost just like the 30-day period. It's like, you know, the Father won't give us more than we can bear one day at a time, right? So look at this Mars, because we're all on a karmic path, okay? And we're all on a path of work. And we're all on a path of career. And we all have this path of structure as well, right? And Mars is the trigger of the whole entire game plan here, right? This whole entire trigger thing, because it is absolutely a trigger, this opposition. Because we have this, as you can see, for November 3rd, Mars is in its very first opposition. This is the opposition, right? Because you look about a little bit over a year ago, you know. I don't have that chart. Please excuse me. But this is the first opposition. This is only one opposition with Pluto, right? Mars had a conjunction with Pluto X amount of months ago. And now it's time for that conjunction, you know, to travel all the way halfway across the sky to find the opposition of Pluto. And Pluto is a slow mover. He hasn't moved too much, right? And he's just come out of retrograde. So this is very interesting to look at, because we can look at the activity of Mars all the way through the months, back to the point of the conjunction with Pluto. He's moved through half the sky, and now he's opposed Pluto. Okay, this is the first opposition of Pluto, and they're both in direct motion. November 3rd. This is very important, because all the charts are coming to you, and these charts are only from the Father. My prayers. I had no idea I was going to do this podcast today. I was going to do something completely different, and the Father wanted to show me this and to share it with you. Right? I'm not even kidding about any of this. You could take this podcast to your apothecary or your podiatrist. Here we go. Now, here he is. Mars is opposed his best buddy at 29 degrees 45 minutes. This is the exact moment that the opposition begins. Exact, right? But always give yourself about 3 degrees on each side of the opposition. So here we are, November. You know, we have Mars sitting in this opposition, but look. It's not exact, but it's really close. There's a trine, right? There's a trine to both Mercury and the Moon on this day. And then look at Venus in the house of many arrows, Jupiter. In Jupiter's house of many arrows, and Venus is there just finishing her conjunction with Pallas Athena. Think about this day, November 3rd. It's coming. And look at this. I think it's in conjunction. No, it's not quite in conjunction. Yeah, it is. It's actually in conjunction. If Ceres was over here in Sagittarius, she would be opposite. She would be opposed to Jupiter, but we have it in conjunction of Ceres and Jupiter. Isn't that quite interesting? Write that one down. These are aspects. Nobody else is talking about this yet on YouTube, I promise. I promise no one has said anything about these collection of charts that I'm bringing to you. This is the winter forecast, and it's all about the squaring thing, this energy of squares and oppositions about Mars and Pluto, because it's a very, very rare year this year. And why do I say this? Because Pluto hasn't been where he is in like well over 100 years, almost 200 years. And so this dance with Mars and Cancer is something that's very rare. And for the sky to look like this, it's absolutely super rare. Now look at this here. I'm going to go right here. We're going to move to the next chart really quick because we're going to wrap this up. Now, December 6th is when Mars goes retrograde. And you can't really look at these ascendants or anything. Look at the times, look at what's going on in the sky, take your screenshots. This podcast is all about the aspects. And if Mars is really at Leo, because look at this. We have this right here. Here's Mars retro and Leo, okay? I'm a Leo at 2 degrees 34 minutes by the tropical system, okay? So am I really a Leo? Is my sun really a Leo? Is my sun really a Leo at 2 degrees 34 minutes in the 3rd house with my Jupiter in Leo at 12 degrees 33 minutes in the 4th house? Is it really true? I mean, am I really this Leo, kind of guy? Or do we fall into this here, or is the sidereal chart system going to give us a better prediction? You tell me. We're both going to know by the end of this year, okay? Because what do we got going on here? Here's the Mars retrograde Leo, 6 degrees, which is 4 degrees, not quite 4 degrees away from my sun, and not quite 6 degrees from my Jupiter, okay? According to the tropical system, okay? Now here's Jupiter retro square. Here's the Jupiter. This is here's the next big thing, because we're coming out of a square and moving back into a square, and it's still, when you look at this, it's still an air and water square. This is the second time that they make a square to each other. And this time it's at 14 degrees. The last time it was like 17 degrees. So it's moved over a couple degrees. We have to think about this. But this square is completely different from the last square, because they've changed sides, right? They've changed character traits. And what's the character traits? Well, in the first square that Jupiter made to Saturn was retrograde. Now in this square on December 24th, Jupiter will be retrograde and not Saturn, okay? At 14 degrees, Gemini. And look at where this Mars is for this. Mars is beginning its waxing opposition with Pluto again. This is his second. But the thing is, on this day, remember, my sun is 2 degrees 34 minutes Leo, right? And the Mars is there at 3 degrees. It's just a little bit over a minute out, right? But what's the big number in here? Juno is still sitting trine to Jupiter. What else is going on? We cannot pay attention to this because Banff is not in the Atlantic. I don't know what's going on with the Astro program. The Astro Gold program. It started doing this. I have to take a look at it. Maybe I have to reboot or reinstall the program, because this is supposed to say Mountain Standard Time. But we want you just to look at the aspects and put this against your chart and where you live, okay? Think about these times of these days, because these are global events, guys. This is major stuff going down. We have a very lopsided, there's not a lot of weight on this side of the solar system, except for the point that the sun is here. Think about where the sun is on this date, December 24th. It's The sun is actually in conjunct my sun. No wonder I have to work so much during the holidays. I guarantee you, my life will absolutely be going crazy because I will just be moving through my sixth house as being a Leo, according to tropical astrology and my education. That me being a Leo. I mean, for all my life in Canada and under my close guidance of my astrology teacher for 30 years, he never once told me I was a sun in Cancer and a Jupiter in Cancer. Not one single time. So we're really going to be able to watch this year, and we're going to make journals of what's going on, especially with this whole entire dance of this opposition of Pluto and Mars being really so close to my sun. I will be a very good person to report about happenings around my life because I am the Wednesday child. I am the child of woe, right? So we're moving this. This is it. This is the opposition. So there's an opposition going on here. But this is the square, the second square of Jupiter and Saturn. And there's more squares to come, right? As we move into 2025. Now here we go. We're on to January 3rd. And what is January 3rd, folks? What is January 3rd? Mars opposed Pluto retro. So now this is the second opposition of Mars opposed Pluto. Perfect. This is the exact degree, exact moment, everything. Once again, don't look at the ascendant because the program is on battery acid. And look at what's going on here. Juno's moved away. Juno's all the way by now. Juno's into Scorpio, eh? So that's pretty interesting to look at. And look at where Jupiter is. Jupiter is in retro, and he's going to re-square Saturn, right? He's going to re-square Saturn again, right? It's this whole turn, because Saturn's moving forward now. Jupiter's still in retrograde. So what we have going on here is Neptune and Saturn, by January 3rd, Neptune and Saturn have, they're out of retrograde season. Pluto's out of retrograde season. Venus is not in retrograde. I mean, you have all of this going on. And now we just have these three buggers up here. The Mars, the trigger guy. Jupiter, the velocity of the bullet flying out of the gun. And Uranus, the demolitionist or the humanitarian after the demolitionist did his job, right? Because that's generally how it works, right? The demolitionist moves in, he causes his chaos, and then the humanitarians show up to take care of all the refugees, right? So it'll be very interesting to watch this retrograde season like now, because when Mars opposes Pluto, it's only these three guys in retrograde. It's a very, very unique retrograde season because of this. Now we go to Mars direct. Mars turns direct with the tropical system. It's at 17 degrees, perfect. And look where he is. The moon is in a waxing opposition to Mars. Mars is at 17 degrees. And he is in a trine with Mercury, right? This is what's going on with the sky this day. Jupiter's now 11 degrees. Far, far, far away from us, any type of square. He's 9 degrees away from a square from Saturn. Saturn has really been booking, right? Holy cow. And Mercury's on the catch-up as well. Look where Mercury is. He's way out in front of the sun. He's getting way from him out. And pretty soon, Mercury will go into a retrograde season as well. Mercury will hit a retrograde season coming up, not too far, because the sun doesn't like him getting too far in front of him, right? Remember, he's like the fastest planet. Holy cow, is Mercury fast, okay? Now, so this is it. This is the day. This is February 23rd. Mars has finally gone direct. Holy cow, he's coming out of his retrograde season. It's the 23rd. We are entering the last month. I mean, you look where the sun is. You look where Saturn is. Saturn is there. The south node is rushing toward Saturn. You know, it's still a few months away from a conjunction with Saturn. And look at this, guys. It's absolutely amazing because Mercury will be trine. Will be almost not perfectly trine, but trine, absolutely in a significantly tight trine with Mars. So this date, February 23rd, I tell you, things look, you know, you got a trine going on here, and these guys are coming out of retrograde. Jupiter and Uranus by February 23rd. I mean, by February 23rd, guys, think about this. There's no one in retrograde. By February 23rd, nobody's in retrograde. Holy cow, things will be moving forward again. But what kind of winter? Because remember, February 23rd is that it's in a trade over. We're well past the trade over for the last month of the solar cycle, and you know we're only 25 degrees away from the House of Aries, and it's a watery time. Holy cow, it's absolute water that month. Look for all kinds of water that month. Now, final chart. The final opposition of Mars with Pluto happens 33 degrees 48 minutes. That's the axis of the opposition. Is it really, really conjunct my sun? Is my sun, because my sun is 2 degrees 34 minutes. Once again, my sun is 2 degrees 34 minutes. This and we are looking at this 4 degree wannabe opposition. These are the charts, guys. April 26th. We have I've just given you almost 9 months, and then believe me, guys, this stuff, this lineup is so intense. The next 9 months is going to feel like 9 days. It's going to be like this hyperlapse winter. Because you can see where the planets are. You know, look, there's nobody else. I mean, there's nobody whatsoever sitting in the West, right? Everyone's in the East. Think about it. You will be able to track this with your chart so clear because on this day, what do we have? What do we have on this day? On this day, Jupiter's out of retrograde. We have Uranus and Saturn in a sextile, right? Uranus and Saturn are working together in a sextile. Look at it. Think about this, because we have all this activity. I mean, everything. What? They have all these winter planets. You know, we have all these planets. I mean, there's like almost 100% of the solar system, except for all this like dust. You know, Juno and Vesta. This is just impossible. Juno and Vesta is just dust, right? But look, we have the Earth over here. The Earth is going to be at like 7 degrees Libra or 7 degrees Scorpio, right? That's where the Earth's going to be opposed to the Sun. And then you just have this dust kicking around. But the weight of the solar system on the day that Mars opposed Pluto is directly on the Earth, right? These are the days of our life without any drama, but with all the drama you could actually think of, right? My Lord, I tell you, everything's in the East. Isn't it just a beast? Look, guys, I hope you enjoyed my yeast-free dinner. Yeah, I haven't been drinking any beers lately. Tonight I just had a little Kahlua and cream with a little vodka splash. I hope you understood what I was saying. I hope you got the podcast. I hope these charts help you out. And I have to do this because this winter, holy cow, it's a stress mess. I'll talk to you later. Cheers. And all the best to you. Safe journeys.